Hey, my name is Mohan, I'm the CMO of Nayron.
Hey, my name is Luca and I'm the CEO of Nayron.
Luca, let's talk about skills in this video. I'm sure the vast majority of our audience has heard of it. Maybe some have even used them. But there's a lot of confusion on what they are and how they apply to the day-to-day workflow of, say, a business that's going to use them for their LLMs.
For sure. So essentially a skill is nothing more than just a prompt, but it's inserted at a specific time for the LLM, or in this case, many of the times, an AI agent, so that it knows what to do for a specific task that it's been given. Now, a lot of the time, skills live in something that are called skill libraries. You could have 5 skills, you could have 100 skills. The agents are able to realize at what point do they need a skill to do a certain task. So for example, if you needed to write some copy and you had a copywriting skill, whenever you ask it anything associated to copywriting, it will actually say, hey, I know about this book on copywriting. And it'll go and it'll read through essentially the prompt, right? It's a version of instructions and examples, and we'll get into more details on what exactly it constitutes. But as you can see over here, when the task arrives from the AI agent, it goes and looks at its skill library and then identifies which skill is important, which one isn't, and then it invokes that skill, which means essentially reading the skill to now start using whatever is in that skill. So the makeup of a skill is really whatever you make it, just like a prompt. But the best skills always have some type of system prompt up in the very beginning, like I will probably be asking you to do this task when I need to write up a blog or anything like that. It will have almost always very good examples, specifically when it comes to the output that you're requiring. And then it'll have a step-by-step sort of procedural guide. So whenever I ask you to write some copy, before you do that, please do some research. And then finally, it'll let the LLM know what tools are available. So if you need to write copy and you need to check grammar, use a Grammarly MCP, for example.
In the past, we've encountered this with business owners. Oftentimes they confuse a skill with training an AI model. So what is the distinction there?
The key thing to understand is that almost nobody other than OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, and the big labs are training models. You train models when you have hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on actually training, specifically fine-tuning and retraining. That is something that most of the time is going to be out of reach for a lot of people. What a skill is just a further instruction on what needs to get done. And by the way, a skill will most likely be an SOP that's internal to a company, something that is not found on the internet, something that you cannot get from anywhere else. We've noticed, for example, when we use coding agents, that we're doing the same repetitive things on and on. For example, if we need to push some code, there's some checks that we need to do. That could all be embedded in a skill, and we just invoke it once, and it runs through all the 10, 15 things that it needs to do. I don't need to sit and at the end of my sessions always tell it what it should do. That is a very big distinction we need to make, because we hear a lot of business owners basically tell us, oh, like, yeah, I'm documenting and I'm doing all of this good work because I'm going to train the model. You don't actually train the model. Remember, every time you interact with an AI agent, their context windows is at a 0. They don't know anything. You need to constantly retell it the same thing for it to pick off and for it to actually know what it needs to do.
And this is revolutionary because it takes an LLM from being just a generalist, from being an expert in the specific task that you wanted to do at that given moment in time.
Yeah, there's many cases where you would need a generalist, and ChatGPT does fine. But in many cases, you need more specialized agents for particularly the task that you're trying to solve. I mean, just think about all of the internal company SOPs that we have. All of those are skills, but they're made for humans to follow. A lot of the times when we do build AI agents for clients, so we're using the existing SOPs to then give to an AI agent to run those, or at least have context on what Jane from accounting is doing. So yeah, definitely very important to understand what skills are and how to build skills. And in later videos, we'll go over in more detail how exactly we build some of these tools.
Exactly. And until then, guys, you can subscribe to our newsletter. Links down in the description below. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, where we're very active on a day-to-day basis. And until then, guys, we'll see you in the next video.